Just a week ago, we posted a video breaking down why we weren't excited for Marvel's Eternals, and at the time it had a rating of 76% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Now a week later, it's dropped down to 53% rotten, making it the worst rated film in the MCU. But is it really the worst? Let's talk about it. Hey Energetic Nation, it's your resident superhero nerd Aaron Waller, and today we are talking about Marvel's 26th film, The Eternals. And just a heads up, I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler free as possible as the movie just came out, but if you do want some spoilers, let us know down in the comments and maybe we'll make another video. This film is about the Eternals, a race of immortal beings who lived on Earth and shaped its history and civilizations, who now must stop their arch enemies, the Deviants. And this film is absolutely stacked when it comes to the cast. It has Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Gemma Kumail Nanjiani, Tyree Henry, Kit Harrington, Keoghan, and so many other actors. And to be honest, I had a feeling it would be a little bit too big for its own good, and I was absolutely right. There's so much that this movie tries to pack in that it quickly becomes overwhelming and often creates more questions than answers. At its core, The Eternals is a let's get the band back together and save the world movie featuring superpowered beings. And their motivations make a lot of sense once the plot of them reuniting is explained, but it takes nearly half of the movie for them to even find that out. And then there's an even slower progression as to even getting some of these members back together. I mean, 3 to 4 of these characters take a major backseat and don't have much involvement at all until the final third of the movie, with exception to when there's a flashback of the Eternals and their interaction with history that this movie likes to jump to at random times. And even when it comes to the characters that we do get a lot of time with, I never felt I really cared about them in any way. Plus, a lot of the decisions and actions of the various characters caused me to question if I even liked them or not. For example, during the film I thought Kumail Nanjiani's Kingo and his valet were the best part. They had some of the best jokes and interactions and seemed like the only people in the movie who were actually excited to be there, and then a decision was made that made me think, maybe I don't like these guys so much. And then it was the total opposite reaction for Keoghan's character. I wasn't really feeling him at first, but by the end, I didn't really hate him. So I did like that there was a lot of ambiguity to the characters that kept things interesting, but a lot of the rest of it was just not doing it for me. In terms of the story, it's very ambitious, and although the visuals are stunning, and we'll talk more about that in a second, I just never cared. And to put the icing on the cake, they really try to drive home various messages on how beautiful Earth is, how humanity is so creative, ambitious, and we should all love them, and it's extremely heavy-handed for 2.5 hours. And not to mention how very contextually confusing it is, as how it will fit into and have a greater impact on the MCU. They very quickly write off why they didn't help fight Thanos, but by the end there are some events that happen that absolutely cannot be ignored for the future of the MCU, and it will be very interesting to see how they incorporate it down the line. My guess the way that they'll use it is referencing it very much like the Battle of New York from the first Avengers movie, but it's way too early to even tell that. Now let's go ahead and circle back to the visuals. It is both amazingly awesome and kind of a dud at the same time. The Celestials are pretty cool in the final battle to stop the world ending. I didn't mind too much, but it felt very reminiscent to other end of the world movies, and sometimes the visuals didn't quite seem up to par with a Marvel movie. It's like they had a dark filter for a lot of the film, but whenever light was introduced, it added an extra filter for the faces and skin that made it look something like it was straight out of Snapchat. Now the powers of the Eternals were okay for the most part. They were mildly cool, with not a ton to add to things like super speed, flight, illusions, mind control, and other powers we've seen before. However, Tyree Henry's technology powers, Kumail Nanjiani's energy finger guns, and Angelina Jolie's weapons powers were probably the most interesting out of the bunch. But back to the title of this video, is The Eternals Marvel's worst movie? And the answer to that is, I think it might be. It isn't a total loss as there are a lot of good things, but I found myself being more confused by the structure of the movie, the characterizations, missed opportunities, and just very odd choices that added up to make me want to give Eternals a total of a 4 out of 10. The only reason I will probably ever rewatch this movie is just for confirmation as to whether it was that bad, or when other things happen in the MCU that I have to go back and maybe reference why is this happening or what was the connection here, but other than that, it's mostly a loss. So those are my thoughts on Eternals. If you've seen the movie, what did you think, and would you consider this to be the worst of the MCU? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you don't miss on any future content like my awesome History of series, which will soon be explaining a post-credit scene character from Eternals, so you can check out that playlist right here, or check out Russell's thoughts on why he thinks Halo Infinite will be a good game right over here. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.